Did you know that when an entire civilization gets enlightened, it actively participates in the creation of other worlds? Just think, the dragon world actively participated in the creation of our universe. Mind you, this was trillions of years before our universe even got created. Some say the Big Bang created the universe. All others have different points of view. Nevertheless, most scientists say the universe got created around 15 to 20 billion years ago. Remember, the goal is to go from darkness to light. Each star system had to go through the same darkness and light as the dragons did. Nobody, and I mean nobody, gets a free ride. The dragons were quite happy with the system that they developed, yet they knew that other systems existed out there. They developed a consortium called the Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Light. This brotherhood and sisterhood still exists today. Just think, trillions of years before even the dragons came into the picture, there existed a civilization that enlightened trillions of years before them. They had quite a unique perspective on life. Even today, their perspective is outside of the box. I'm talking about the Jains, an incredible roadmap that they have. This roadmap has been used by many advanced civilizations throughout this universe and previous universes. The dragons knew there are infinite pieces of the puzzle in life. Each system is different and unique, yet the essence is the same. The goal of each system is the same. The goal is to go from darkness to light. In the beginning, when the Brotherhood was first created, there was always a sense of joy when a different system came on board. There was no ego of my system was better than your systems. Have you ever seen mystics fighting one another? Yet people who are only involved in dogma and think that my religion is the only one, will fight the end to defend it. The truth needs no defending. Each system is uniquely designed. It's like one flower compared to another flower. Each one is custom designed. Each system has been refined for trillions of years. Unfortunately, today, many of these systems have lost their true essence. The Jains, for some reasons, have not lost the essence of the message. It is still holding the light in midst of darkness. These council meetings were quite entertaining. They were probably the purest form of entertainment that has ever been seen. The laughter and humor could be heard throughout the universe at the same time. You see, they have gone beyond all negative emotions. They learned how to control the mind and not the mind controlling them. In that stage, there's a true celebration of life. They could they could do cheers to a glass full of nectar, then drink the liquid of mortality. One gets intoxicated by this drink, and it is intoxication to the soul. Greater wisdom comes this way. Each one of the Jains Tirthankras studied and participated. They got the dragon skills of enlightenment over thousands of years. They they refined the teaching so they could present it with the universe that got created for us.
Intro. Jai Janinder is a common greeting used by the Jains. The phrase means honor to the supreme genius. The virtual greeting is a combination of two Sanskrit words, Jai and Janindra. The word Jai is used to praise somebody. In Jai Janindra, it is used to praise the qualities of the genus, conquerors. The word Janindra is a compound word derived from the word Jina, referring to a human being who has conquered all inner passions and possesses Kavala, Jnana, pure, infinite knowledge, and the word Indra, which means chief or lord. By saying Jai, we are praising the glory of these great souls, and by doing this, we are internalizing and embed their greatness in ourselves. By Janindra, we are saluting and appreciating the seeds of these Jains who also have achieved full control over their senses. I've been researching the Jains for almost a year now. I'm quite fascinated by their spiritual and practical practice of life. During these days of the Corona-19 virus, it is ever so important to be diligent in having a healthy lifestyle. Your life may be dependent upon it. Yet just recently, during the Thanksgiving holiday, over 25 million Americans traveled by plane. The deaths and people getting is overwhelming. Is common sense uncommon? I spent my entire life on a mind, body, and soul connection. I firmly believe to have your feet on the ground and your head in heaven. True wisdom only comes when one is connected to the source within. This is where the fountain of wisdom exists. As the Zen Buddhists say, chop wood, carry water. As I study with the Jains, I see a down-to-earth practical path to fine-tune the guitar of life. Nobody will drive your car for you. You have to drive the car yourself. This should be taught in schools and everyday life. Yet common sense is uncommon. These tools have been around for thousands of years. Humanity has forgotten them. You are the universe. You just don't know it. Intro. Here we are amid a global shutdown. At least 30 million Americans got laid off. Most of these people can't pay their bills. Congress is bickering with one another. Here's an excerpt from Forbes magazine. Billionaires are getting richer during the COVID-19 pandemic, while most Americans suffer. Billionaires are not in the same boat with the rest of us. As we try to navigate the treacherous currents of the COVID-19 pandemic, they're smoothly sailing in luxury yachts, while most Americans are doing the doggy paddle, treading water, and just trying to stay afloat. According to the Institute for Policy Studies, billionaires' wealth has boomed, while over 26 million people have filed for unemployment since mid-March. The percentage of taxes paid by billionaires have fallen 79% since 1980. From the start of March to now, the group of billionaires' total wealth has increased by 308 billion. Billionaires boost a combined net worth of $3.229 trillion, and their collected wealth skyrocketed up 1,130% between 1990 and 2020. To make matters worse, George Floyd was murdered by 3 police officers. This started protests not only in America, but all around the world. Unfortunately, many of these became violent and mass rioting occurred with the destruction of property. This is a sad time in America. Today is June 2nd, 2020. This is the headline from CNN. Trump responds to protests with the Strongman Act. Trump on Monday turned security forces on peaceful protesters in front of the White House as tear gas and rubber bullets flew before declaring himself the law and order president. Then, in one of the most bizarre moments in modern presidential history, he strode across the park to stand in front of an iconic church holding a Bible aloof in a striding photo op. It was a moment of vanity and bravado, orchestra for the cameras and transparently political as Trump struggles to cope with protests sweeping the country after the killing of George Floyd and try to cope up his botched leadership during the Corvallis pandemic. Overnight, the White House official Twitter account released a triumphant video of the moment set to music, but omitting any signs of the mayhem unleashed on the protesters. Where does this string of unending violence come from? We have peaceful protesters and policemen joining in the protests. Here's a picture of the chief of police for Santa Cruz, California, kneeling with protesters. On the same hand, we have the following reported by CNN. Video appears to show New York Police Department truck plowing through crowd during protests. Police were investigating after a video appeared to show a New York City Police Department truck plowing through a crowd during Saturday's protest over the death of George Floyd. The 27-second video, which was posted to Twitter, shows a New York Police Department truck in front of a crowd throwing objects at the vehicle. There is a barricade in front of the trucks. The truck then appears to dive into the barricade, knocking over protesters. Screaming and yelling are heard while a person is seen jumping on top of the truck. It's unclear if there were any injuries. Where in the world today when it pertains to violence? Even if we had no wars in the world today, would we have peace? The answer is no. Peace is not the absence of war. Peace lies inside of you. Each individual chooses whether to have peace or violence. It is a state of mind. Unfortunately, we are not taught that in school. We are never taught that we are the creators of our emotions. The fight of two wolves within you. An old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, said to the boy. It is a terrible fight, and it's between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." This is as simple as it gets. Whatever you feed will win.
Intro. I believe in synchronicity. It is quite a part of my life. It wasn't always that way. When I was young, I never was introduced to this concept. Years later, I embrace it wholeheartedly. A few days ago, I finished editing my book for the second time called Jainism. To make a long story short, my dear friend Amar sent me a message saying in a few minutes there's an 18-day Jain celebration going on, and there will be a subject of talks each day. Being an inquisitive person and also studied the Jains writing my book, that piqued my interest. This celebration occurs in August or September, depending upon the Indian calendar. Each year during the celebration, the Jains make a yearly commitment to understanding the great mysteries of life and oneself. These talks are meant to gather greater wisdom and incorporate them into your life. Many modern-day scientific principles were known by the Jains thousands of years ago. I consider them one of the first psychologists along with the Buddhists. Currently, there is a marriage between religion and the scientific community. Both of them are talking about the same thing. Great scientific discoveries have occurred in the last 20 years between the mind and body connection. These ideas have been around for thousands of years, but until recently the Western world has ignored them. Maybe not ignored them, but is not aware of them. These are exciting times ahead of us. There's so much chaos, yet at the same time, people are waking up from their slumber. Come and join me on this exploration. There's always something new to learn and gather wisdom on this journey of life. The Jains are known to think outside of the box. What does Jainism teach about death and the afterlife? By Sherry Johnson. Jainism is one of these. They're ancient and prominent religions that trace its origins to India. Today, around 6 million people follow Jain beliefs. The many Jains live in India. Thanks to globalization, the Jain's way of life has traveled to many countries in the West, such as England and America. Do you have a friend who follows the Jain religion? Maybe you're interested in learning about Jainism yourself, or perhaps you simply want a better understanding of the world. Whatever the case, this article will shed light on what happens in the Jainism afterlife. How do Jains view the universe and death? People look at death all around the world through the lens of religion, personal beliefs, and cultural understanding. The Jains' view of death and the universe does the same. Jains incorporate their scripture, culture, and traditionally held understanding of the world around us. The universe. Jains believe that the universe exists in material form. In other words, it is not a figment of our imagination or an illusion that we think exists but doesn't. Jains believe everything falls into one or two categories: living souls and non-living objects. Living souls are called jivs, and non-living souls are called ajas. Ajas include everything that exists in the universe that does not have a soul, including space. Jains consider the universe to have infinitely existed and believe it will continue to exist through all time. The universe governs itself through a set of cosmic laws and stays existent through its own energy. The idea that the universe was created is completely absent from Jainist beliefs. Nature of the universe. According to Jainism, there are 5 regions or parts that make up the universe. These regions include the supreme abode. This is where liberated or enlightened celestial beings live forever. The upper world. This is where celestials, but not liberated beings live, but not forever. The middle void. This is where humans live and where they can achieve enlightenment. The lower world. This region has 7 regions within itself, known as the 7 hells. Beings here get tortured, but they do not stay here forever. The base. This is where the lowest forms of life live. The soul. To better understand the Jain's view of death and the universe, we should understand a little more about the soul. Jains believe that the soul is conscious and eternal forever, through cycling through birth and life until enlightenment is achieved. Made of energy, without physical form, and can lift itself into any form, no matter how large or small, can be embodied, can achieve purity and enlightenment resulting in consciousness and bliss. Jains can think of themselves as 2 separate entities: the body or container and the soul, which fits into the container. The soul is what drives the body to act, and the soul is ultimately responsible for all its actions, good or bad. By following the Jain principles of behavior, the soul can achieve liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Liberation can only be achieved when the soul is embodied in a human form. Death. The Jains have a fairly death-positive outlook and believe death itself to be a part of the rebirth cycle or on the way to achieving enlightenment. In Jainism, death is not seen as a final moment where souls leave Earth and enter an eternal world. Indeed, death is limited to birth and the cycle of reincarnation. Death is merely the soul's way of continuing the rebirth cycle. The form the soul takes for its next cycle depends on accumulated karma. Preparations for death. For Jains, death is preceded by the ritual of dying. The act of death plays an important role in preparing the soul for the next embodiment. The ritual of death is known as Salahara. During this ritual, whether due to old age or the old stages of a terminal illness, the Jains will slowly withdraw from food and medicine. Withdrawal occurs slowly and in a manner that does not disturb their inner peace. They also engage in prayer and scriptural reading. The process of salahana isn't always accepted and is considered taboo in some areas. However, the Jains that practice this ritual don't view it in the same light as suicide. The ritual is to be undertaken in a calm, aware, and dispassionate manner, the exact opposite from what many Jains believe the act of suicide normally looks like. Jains view both obtaining as much inner peace as possible and dying peacefully as incredibly important. A peaceful death will benefit the soul and result in a better embodiment. Salahara isn't an eagerness to die, but demonstrates a willingness and desire to face the transition from one life to the next in a graceful and self-controlled manner. Jains embrace death rather than fear it, with the ritual of preparing for death and focusing on the transition from one life to the next. What happens in the Jain afterlife? Though all religions differ in their beliefs about what happens after you die, each one tries to answer the question. For Jains, death does not immediately lead to the afterlife. Death leads to reincarnation. Reincarnation, once a body dies, the soul immediately goes to the next body, also known as a container. Depending on the soul's accumulated karma, the next body may not be human or even an animal. The birth, death, reincarnation cycle continues indefinitely until a soul achieves ultimate deliverance from karma. Deliverance is not the same as enlightenment. A soul can achieve enlightenment, but will still be subject to reincarnation. Enlightened souls are free of harmful karma, but still attract non-human karma based on their deeds. Only once all the remaining karma has no impact on its soul can deliverance occur. Deliverance. The portion of Jane's afterlife that most people in the West can relate to occurs when a soul is delivered from all karma. After a soul achieves enlightenment, they are still impacted by karma. Once they are completely free of karma, they instantly achieve deliverance from the reincarnation cycle. When a soul reaches deliverance, it is immediately transported to the highest level of the universe, the supreme abode. Here the soul lives eternally, disemboweled in a state of purity and bliss with other liberated souls. Liberated souls, called siddhas, are forever free from the reincarnation cycle. These souls no longer have physical bodies, nor will they embody a form ever again. Through enlightenment and liberation, they have obtained infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite vision, and infinite bliss. It's every Jain's goal. Liberated souls are beings that are godlike but are not gods. They are not worshipped by Jains in the conventional Western concept of God worship. When Jains worship liberated souls, they do so to focus on an example of perfection to achieve perfection themselves. Unlike the gods of Western traditions, liberated souls do not create or destroy, have a relationship with humans. intervene in the lives of humans or the universe, make demands of humans, create or enforce laws in the universe. We may reward humans for good behavior, forgive humans for wrongdoing, give life or existence to humans. Humans can only see these beings as inspiration for their own journey. They will never directly interfere with the life of a human or influence them directly in any way. Worship of liberated souls is for inspiration only and will not result in any direct change in a human's life. The differences between the Jains and Hindu alternatives. Jainism and Hinduism engaged around the same time and shared many examples of rituals and faith. But the two religions are distinct, and beliefs about the afterlife are one area where you can see the differences. Soul liberation. According to Hinduism, each soul is separated from the Supreme Soul, or Paramatma. The focus of liberation is to achieve the merging of souls back into the Supreme Soul. In Jainism, each soul is its own individual entity and is not tied to other souls. Liberation occurs for each individual soul, and there is no merging once liberation is achieved. Existence for liberated souls. In Hinduism, liberation means the merging of soul back into the Supreme Soul, or Brahman. Once this occurs, it is believed that the souls enter into Vishnu's paradise for an eternity of bliss. For Jains, liberation results in an activity-free existence, experience in tranquility and bliss. For Jains, death is a part of life. For those who follow the Jain's way of life, death is seen merely as a transition from one life to the next. Death can be a positive thing for Jains. It is through the cycle of death and rebirth that the ultimate achievement of liberation can one day be achieved. 6 Entities of the Universe by Dr. Mahavir Raj Getra. Statements of Einstein and Hawkins. Jains envisioned the entire universe to be consisted of 6 entities. We have christened them as materials. 1. The medium of movement. 2. Medium of rest. 3. Space. 4. Matter. 5. Consignificant effulgence. 6. Time. All 6 entities, materials, coexist simultaneously to manifest the universe. Interesting, science even today cannot add or subtract anything from this all-exhausted list cited above. Jain literature calls the universe as Lok. Excluding this finite Lok is said to be infinite Alok. Jain philosophy has laid a logical foundation to the ever-enigmatic question of creation of universe, its extents, the composition, and its time factor. Founding postulates of Jains are: there is a finite and tangible Lok situated in the midst of an infinite void called Alok. Alok is infinite, yet the relative positioning of Lot with respect to Alok is well defined as the directions travel in the A-lock as well. Lock has a well-defined and stable geometric shape. Lock has fixed base constituents which are finite and maintain a constant sum. Activities within the lock are so spontaneous that it is not created by anybody. Lock possesses default intelligence, but not the designed one. Periods in lock have starts and ends, but cycles of periods are eternal, having neither beginning nor end. Matter present in the universe is dynamic by way of transportation and transformation, which is the very basics of life. Mahavira Yoga explains that the Jains could find above universal laws as they do not believe in the authority of God as a creator or perpetrator. According to him, modern scientists also does not support the idea of a universe being created and conducted by any supreme power. Sat, Chit, Anand, meditating on the inner lok. Sat, Chit, Anand. Truth is the consciousness of bliss. When your mind is absorbed in truth, your consciousness will be absorbed in bliss. This is considered the inner lok. This is the essence of the soul that we must discover inside of us. This is our true nature. Unfortunately, mankind does not understand this. We place all our energy on the external. We may go to church or temple one day a week and think, that's enough. This man is living in bondage, and yet he thinks he is free. What a paradox. For eons, man's condition is to only look in the external world for happiness. This is our downfall and where we are today. According to the Jains, truth equals existence, which equals life. Consciousness equals life. Anand equals love. When the man only concentrates on the external world, he is digging his own grave. He is held in bondage and hostage, yet he doesn't know it. Prana is our life force energy. It is part of our life. Without prana, you would be around too much longer. Tejas is the fire that corresponds to light and consciousness. Without internal fire, our body would not be able to function. Ohas corresponds to the Shiva Shakti energy. You may call it masculine and female energy. These three components are the air element, the fire element, and the water element. The goal is to balance all three. When these three are in balance, you will be in harmony with your mind, body, and soul. When they are out of balance, the disease will occur. All you have to do is look in this world and see the chaos, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. The world is not in balance. I was introduced to the phrase Sat Chit Anand when I was 18 years old in India. Wherever we would meet someone, we would say Jai Sat Chit Anand. This phrase got incorporated into my being, became a part of my life. My driving force in this world is to be in that place, residing in my soul. To be in that place, one must be conscious and aware of every moment. One must learn how to fine-tune the guitar of life. Maybe I should say the sitar of life. We can never rest on our laurels. There's always new wisdom and knowledge to obtain. We can never clap our hands and say, I know all that there is.